right, so take a look at this and let me know if you have any questions. This first paragraph was just slightly reformatted, but it's basically serves the same purpose as the original. I have the establishment of setting and descriptive language related to that, where I show, I don't tell. It's a rule setting, given that sense that you're sort of detached from your normal life. I specifically added the part here. I don't introduce the conflict right away here. I give a little bit more space and a little bit more exposition before I get to the conflict, which I introduce down here. It's pretty much the same conflict as before, where I ask, did I make a mistake in coming here? I won't see my mom for 21 days. Stupid me. So that conflict is still there. The difference is, again, a little bit more exposition here and here to include here a bit of descriptive language and metaphorical language that serves as, if you look at this where it says, I looked down and saw I had 1 foot on the street and 1 foot on the grass meet gravel intersect that still bore the fresh tire print of my mom's car and the last bit of my normal life that went with it. So the purpose of that particular part of the passage relates to me giving you this notion that I've got half of me is in this world I'm about to enter, which is my grandmother's world, and I'm about to explore and be introduced to. Yet the other half of me is still attached to more of the urban world, the street itself. What does the street represent? I say I got 1 foot on the street. What does that represent? Not only represents sort of my more modern urban life that I'm used to, but it also represents the street that my mom drove off on. So I'm looking at the fresh tire print that she left that shows that she's departing and that I'm transitioning to something different. And the last bit of my normal life went with it. And keep in mind also implied in this, and it was my intent, that one of the reasons I have my 1 foot on the street is because I ran out there to watch my mom drive off. So I could, it's one of those moments where I'm watching the car just fade away in the distance and she finally makes that left turn onto the next street and she's out of sight. So I'm literally clinging on to that, to my mom and what is my normal life for as long as I can. From there, the story gets into full narrative mode from here, where I start. Before, I just gave an descriptive overview of everything that happened during that 3-week period. But here you'll notice I start getting into the specifics of my experience there. So I talk about, I finally went into the house and slumped on the sofa, the TV beckoned me. So at this point, I've got the conflict where I'm talking about, did I make a mistake coming here? We have rising action related to me just sort of not being particularly motivated. My grandmother's making an effort to engage with me and say, hey, what are you going to do? What are we going to do? You want to have my version of fun? You want to actually just forget about your mom and enjoy your time here? And I'm pretty much like, no, I think I'll just lay here for 21 days. I talk about the next morning where I overslept and then I realized, wait a minute, you can't oversleep if there's nothing to wake up for. So you kind of get this moment where I'm experiencing slowly but surely what's going to end up being the realization that I've got it made. So, which officially was here. I guess we can say we're working our way up to the climax, which is that. So I'm just going to go ahead and identify that as the climax here. So we're working our way up to that. And it's just rising action leading to that, talking about the realization that, hey, I don't have my sister, I don't have my to-do list of chores, I don't have my sisters bossing me around. I go to the fridge. This is another rising action moment where I open the fridge and realized it was loaded with food and drinks and all the things that were representative of what would ultimately be the realization, sorry, that I officially had it made. And then as I'm going back to watch something on TV, hey, let's see what's on the TV, and I can't connect that to my video game, but let's see if I can find something to watch. And then I realized it was Major League Baseball that was on. And then I realized my grandmother has cable TV. And it's like, whoa, now this is really a big deal. So rising action all the way to that climactic moment of really it all coming together with the check, 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 check. If when I revise this later, I might play around with getting rid of that. I felt like that was too many checks. At one point, it was even more than that, but I had to combine a couple of the like no chores and to-do lists. At one point, I had those two separate as two separate things, which required yet another check in there. But I combined them, so I only had to do one check. So each one of those checks corresponds to these items: no chores or to-do list, no sisters, check. Sleep as late as I want, check. Eat as much as I want, check. Watch whatever I want, check. So just for effect and emphasis, I put them all there as a series of checks, like almost like you're going down a list. But I do feel that it's a bit much. So I might revise that or edit that and clean that up a bit. Or I might leave it. It just depends. I'll reread it a couple times, maybe have somebody else look at it and see what I think about it after that. That's the beauty of editing and revising, is you can change things as much as you want, play around with them, and in the end, you just have to make a decision, a gut decision on whether to keep it or not. So right now, I'm leaning toward keeping the check, 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 but it seems a bit much. We talk about the next 21 days. I'm sorry, the next 20 days. We're already one day into it. So this is where we have falling action. So we've already had our climactic moment. Let me try that again. That wasn't. I'm just going to put it as just a straight downward arrow. This is where we have falling action. And it's basically talking about the aftermath of just enjoying these things. So you can imagine just the daily experience of watching the TV and enjoying all that there was to do there. I do talk about briefly, I introduced one more aspect, which was pulling my first all-nighter. So I do mention that as part of the aftermath of the climactic realization that I had it made and I was having this amazing adventure. I also pulled my first all-nighter. And that's going to be interesting because that one little blip right there ends up being a almost 1,200 word personal narrative that I completely revised based on piggybacking off of this story. And I'll share that with you guys later on. And again, falling action is just me thinking, hey, when is my mom showing up? You know, I was counting the days and the hours at one point, and now it's like, well, I kind of hope she actually doesn't show up. Here we have the ultimate falling action that results in my mom actually showing up to pick me up. And then we have the resolution. The resolution was this notion that I'll be back next summer. I had a great time. The resolution part of that was I'll be back next summer. Another part of the resolution was my mom, and this is also part of falling action toward the ultimate resolution, was that my life was going back to normal and I was heading back home, and my mom's telling me all my chores that I have to do and the fact that I picked up this paper route, and life was about to be back to normal, which was the old normal, not the new normal. And then I'm missing my grandmother. So the final resolution to this story is that I had this great experience. I'll be back next summer. I'm heading back to my normal life, but I miss the special life that I had and that I knew was now something I could experience pretty much every summer. So I was missing my summer adventure. Or specifically, I was already missing my summer adventure as life was going back to normal. So, general comments on that. It follows a narrative structure. It shows you how you can rewrite a more descriptive story. I'm sorry, a more descriptive piece of writing that has elements of story in it, and specifically focus on story and narrative structure. And that's what I've done here. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Again, this is a second draft overall. I would likely revise this one more time to tighten it up even more. But as it is, it could serve as a perfectly fine summer adventure narrative that I could hand in for a grade, or if you had something similar to this, you could hand in for a grade, or when you do it in the fall, this would serve as a complete narrative that would get you an A+. So if you have any questions, let me know, leave comments, let me know what you think about how I turned in a descriptive piece of writing into strictly a narrative piece of writing. And other than that, I will see you guys in class.